So yeah, today's video, starting off a little bit differently. The car's in pieces, as you can see. Basically, what has happened is you saw my last video where I broke my scan gauge that used to be like right here, and so I said I wanted to get rid of it and get a little glow shift oil pressure gauge and put it in my center console with my nitrous gauge that is similar style. It's like just blacked out. This one doesn't color change, but they're both digital, so once they're side by side, they'll look pretty decent. But what had happened is originally I had this little like piece of wood with some little carbon fiber wrap on it, and it was just kind of wedged in the vent and glued. And when I went to pull it out to start doing a little video on how to install an oil pressure gauge from Glow Shift, it fell apart. It like completely fell apart. It cracked, and yeah, I can't really reuse it. So basically, what today's video is going to be is I'm going to go over a couple things that I'm working on while the bumper's out in the yard, and why the front of the car is off and all that. So to start off, when I went and did that vlog and drove the car around, it's still leaking a little bit of oil. Right, I can't really tell, but right up around these bolts, this corner here, it's seeping oil out right here. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten those bolts down just to make sure that that corner's tight. I'll just give them a little bit more turns on it, make sure that that corner's tight. I also want to go to 10W30, which also can be ran in these engines, and hopefully that'll help a little bit. But when I was pulling into my garage after doing that, my little driving light, because it uses generic sticky tape, was just dangling from the wires and fell off. So I grabbed another one that I have, since I bought them in like 6-packs, and didn't use the sticky tape that came with it. Used some 3M trim stuff, put it on, and got a couple of these little clip guys, since these always seem to break. It'll be easier to change them out when I do that. I still didn't put the clip things on the other side, but that one's hanging on pretty good. But I found out why this was always coming off, and that's why the bumper's off the car. Is up here in this little bend, this is what's cut out on both sides here. This side's for the fog lights. This fog light side on the passenger side, that side is good, but this side here rubbed. So I took my Dremel and beveled it out more after I marked out like a 1/4 inch, and while it was out, I sprayed off all the oil. So now that the lights are taken care of, I'm going to tighten that down a little bit. If I drive it again and it's still leaking oil from the valve cover, I do have the other valve cover back on a shelf somewhere, and I picked up some Honda Bond. I know these gaskets don't call for it, but you know, I'll pull that off if it's still leaking after tightening everything down again and changing the oil up a weight. If it still leaks, I'll put a little bit of Honda Bond on the gasket and stuff, make sure everything's cleaned out, and make sure that this is nice and square, because maybe it's not square and that's why it's leaking. So that's basically that stuff that's getting fixed. And as you can see, I cut out a piece of wood, because this is what I'm doing for my gauge pod now. So what I did is I went and found a hole saw that I had, and I just kind of made a template of this one, and I tried first to do it in Alumilite, but it is not strong enough. So when you try to push it in, it's like giving in the corners, and you know, you can't, it's really hard to sand this because it's just 2 pieces of aluminum plastic, so, and it scratches real easily. So I decided, since I had some wood laying around, that's probably 3/4 inch. I figured I could take one of these. It'll be a lot sturdier, and I could paint it. I think I still got some trim paint laying around, so it'll be black. And basically, what I'll do is it'll be opposite, but I'll finish it out. I got to probably wrap a little electrical tape or something around these so that they're tight, because I didn't have a exact drill bit. But that's basically the idea here. And so basically what I have to do now with this piece is, this is pretty much, I just kind of cut it out real quick. Just use the hole saw, a jigsaw, cut it out. I sanded the edges just a little bit, but from the front, it doesn't really like to pop in. So I decided, oh, I could probably pop it in from the back here, which is a little bit harder to do one-handed, but it can be done. And as you can see, the little nubs, now that I got you focused, you can see the little nubs are stopping me from getting it up a little bit further so that it's kind of inset in there a little bit. And what those are for is for the vent to actually clip on there. So what I'm going to do, since I have my Dremel out from fixing the bumper, I'm going to take a little stone wheel and get these down and smooth out, and make sure that this fits nice and snug, and then I'm going to paint it. So I can't really set the tripod up, but I got a little stone wheel on here, and basically I'm just going to go and smooth this down a little bit. I'll try this side because I can do this side while I'm holding. Got it somewhat smooth, but let me put the camera down, and I got to do this side. So this side actually went a lot quicker because this side has like a little flat piece also, so that it you know, this doesn't turn all the way, it stops. So now, where'd my little wooden template piece go? We got our guy here. Make sure the good side's facing up. It's a little tight fit, but that's good. I don't want it to pop out. I'll probably either, most likely I'll just probably epoxy this in somehow if it's loose. I'll try right-handed. So yeah, that's pretty snug. Yeah, it's pretty nice. Nice and snug in there. Got some of this trim paint. I used it on the eyelids. It's like a flat black. It matches the plastics, and that's what I use for the SRT spoiler. So we're going to throw some of this on here because you're not going to be able to see much of this once the gauges are in, but we want it to be black. So while that's drying, I kind of forgot to tell you guys that I also found out that the double-sided tape that comes with all the XK Glow stuff all started to fall off. I don't know if it was it wasn't really sticking to the ballast guy on that one. And I got to swap out this center console plastic because now I got a nice clean one that has no holes in it. So that is just 3 Phillips comes out. So I'm gonna swap that out real quick and kind of go from there. I got my meter because tonight I'm gonna do a separate video on the install. This is just gonna be kind of cleaning up the car and making a gauge pod. So in that little time lapse, you saw me mount the gauges up, and I actually don't think I'm going to need anything to hold them in here. I mean, because this is, I mean, really tight. I'm pulling on the gauges now; they're not going anywhere. So I got them in here, got them straight. I'm not going to hook up the oil gauge just yet because that's going to be a separate video. So you also saw in another time lapse that I got the center console squared away with the new stuff on there. So let me put this in, and then we'll just kind of see how it looks once it's in there. You know, we'll get it all in place so we can see how the new dash layout's going to look and how the new little DIY vent gauge pod looks. So everything is back in here now. I'm not sure if the lights off or on look better, but so yeah, this is now really cleaned up. I only have these vent gauges here, nothing up here anymore, no holes, because it's a new piece, OEM gauges, so that's it. And up front, put the bumper back on, and now I've got plenty of clearance around this fog light. So now I shouldn't be ripping that out anymore. And the last thing, all these little light modules and stuff, they're all now in there with the 3M tape, so they're not going anywhere, and should be pretty good. Alright, so that's pretty much it. We got some things buttoned up on the car, some things fixed, and did a little DIY gauge pod. So I hope you guys liked the video. There'll be a second video out soon where I wire up that new gauge. I'm going to do that separate just because I don't want to make this video too long. So I hope you guys liked the video. Like and subscribe. Till next time.